Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the February edition of Pitch Perfect. So with today's presentation, we do just want everyone to be mindful of that there will be forward-looking information. So there can be no assurances that forward-looking information will prove to be accurate, as actual results in future events could differ materially from those anticipated in such statements. So accordingly, viewers should not place undue reliance on forward-looking information. And now I'd like to get things turned over to our next presenter. We've got Gabriel of Bopper Music ready to tell us a little bit about their ethical music licensing platform for ads and branded content.
All right. Well, thanks for your time and for your interest in Bopper, everyone. Before I talked about our technology, I would like to put things in context a bit. So if we could go to the next slide, please. We've all heard about the debate on how artists are getting compensated nowadays. I think what's mostly in the news is when it comes to streaming on what we call the B2C side, and we all understand that obviously this is not how artists can make a living nowadays. But a similar phenomenon is happening on the B2B side. So what we call synchronization, when a brand or a TV producer needs to buy music. And the biggest issue in the sync industry right now is stock music. And the reason for that is that the stock music libraries basically all have a common denominator with their business model, is that in order to offer very cheap music, turn a profit in the process, they basically have to squeeze the artists. So the artists are getting the low end of the stick, and obviously, as we can all understand, can make a living out of this. So basically, our mission at Bopper is really to champion the use of the very best recorded indie music by making it faster, easier for content producers to find, to price, and to legally license a track. And we know that this is a prerequisite if we want brands and ad agencies to consider using indie music more often. It has to be as simple as buying stock music, but we want to make sure that at least there will be an ethical compensation model to support it. Next slide, please. So basically, we've been working on the platform for since 2013, started going to market back in 2019. And basically, our goal is truly to create a real win-win for both parties. So we understand how we can create a win for the producers, but it has, on the flip side, for the artists, it has to represent a win as well. And this is the only way that we're able to attract the very best artists on our platform, is because they're not only are they going to get paid in a fair way, but they will also benefit from different aspects of the platform. So I'll give you an example. The process for licensing a track starts with finding a non-brief track. So they're starting with a creative brief. They need to find the perfect track in a sea of music. Well, we want to make sure that we're going to get our artists to deal with a process that is much easier for them to get in touch with potential clients. Second aspect of the process is the price negotiation. Many of the independent artists have a hard time putting an objective value on their music. So this is why we've built technology based on artificial intelligence that really automate this process and allow the clients on the other side to get an instant quote on every track that they would like to license. And this ability to price each track individually is at the core of our fair compensation model. And again, a major obstacle that is too often preventing companies for using indie music is the fact that they're going to have to clear the track, meaning find all the rights owners, make sure that they're all in agreement, and not to end up with any legal issues afterward. So we're addressing this with what we call pre-clearance. So basically, as you can see, without going too deep into the technology, is that we're combining technology and music licensing best practices on the platform, allowing brands to find, get a price and license a track in a matter of seconds instead of a matter of weeks. Next slide, please. So Bopper is in the early growth stage. Basically, back in 2020, we sold for 150,000. We generate $150,000 of revenues. Last year, which was our first year where we were in the market for 12 months with some limited resources, but still able to execute our go-to-market, we sold for $850,000, mostly coming from the US market. And basically, we're at the point now when our go-to-market strategy, all the processes, all the systems are in place, they're working smoothly. It's time to press the accelerator. So we're in the midst of closing a $2 million round, and it's part of our DNA, part of our core values to be inclusive, to make sure that our business community, our ecosystem can take part into the growth of Bopper, and this includes the musicians that we represent. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I know there's probably a few questions out there right now. I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Fantastic. Wonderful presentation there. It's so interesting to learn more about Bopper and what you guys are doing for the industry. For myself in particular, it's not an industry that I was too knowledgeable on prior to you guys raising with us. But what I do know from experience is often when the topics of ethical compensation come up in the music industry, it's usually because a large artist takes a stand and starts to have conversations about it that supports all the indie artists with them. So it's great to see that you're actually building a platform that allows those indie artists to kind of be, get that ethical compensation from the forefront. So maybe you can tell us just a little bit more about kind of the changes or trends that you're seeing in the industry and how Bopper is really going to be at the forefront of accelerating that more ethical musical environment.
Yeah, well, one of the key trends that will be of interest for everyone on the call is that the demand, the appetite from brands for recorded music is just booming right now. It was up 51% year over year in 2021. So with the multiplication of the media out there, TV, streaming, advertising, social media advertising, all these productions, most of them need music, and brands and people who are behind those productions, what they're looking for is great music that they can actually buy quickly, easily, and legally. Okay, and this is exactly where we fit. On the other side, you mentioned it. One of the debate around artist compensation is for sure it's something that is carried a lot by the big stars out there, but the big stars are making their money with their live performances, merchandise sales, and things like that. This is exactly the same thing for an independent artist. However, they weren't able to rack up millions and millions of dollars before COVID. So the last 2 or 3 years, basically, they were without any significant source of revenues. And don't forget, indie artists, all the great stars that we know right now were indie artists at one time, and they became what they became because there was enough money back then to support them, okay? To support them in their career and achieving their dreams. It's not the case anymore with indie artists. And at Bopper, we believe that sync, so the ability to place one of their track on brand content, for instance, which drives significant revenue compared to streaming revenues, is definitely a great strategy for them to diversify their sources of revenue, but they need help with technology and best practices in order to make this process much smoother and much streamlined.
That's great. And I know you mentioned in that response there kind of the advertising side to what you do and the brands that you work with. We realistically just had the biggest advertising event of the year this past weekend. Biggest sporting event, sure, but advertising event definitely. And you guys have worked with a lot of big names in getting the music on your platform licensed and some ads for some very large brands. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about some of the brands that you've kind of worked with and how that relates to kind of artists and their compensation in kind of comparison to traditional models.
Very interesting question, because pretty much all the big brands right now, considering the volume of productions that they have to deal, are looking for better music than stock music. I have never met in 30 years in the advertising industry any creative who was really happy to put stock music on the masterpiece, right? So the demand for better music is there. The willingness to leverage the best emerging artists' music is there. Now it's just a question of making it easier. And that's what we're seeing with many brands right now. They're really looking at better music. They're willing to better compensate the artists for all kinds of reasons. Yeah, they're socially responsible, but let's be honest, there's a reputational risk for them associated with using stock music. I mean, it's hard to say, oh, McDonald's, I'm valuing fair trade for the coffee that you're drinking, while paying peanuts to the musicians. They're using the music for their ads. So basically, the context is favorable, the demand is strong, big brands want to contribute, want to protect their reputation, and obviously it brings companies such as Apple, such as Rolex, Hims and Hers, all those big names are doing business with us right now.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I think great to see those use cases there, and wonderful presentation today. So just as we wrap up, for anyone who is perhaps uncertain about what Front Funder is, and this is the first event with us that you've attended, we are Canada's leading equity crowdfunding platform. We make it easy for all Canadians to invest in exciting startups and growth stage companies for as little as $250. And if you have any questions about getting started or where to make your investments, definitely visit frontfunder.com. You've had a chance to hear from all of our companies, see their campaign pages today. And if you ever have any questions about making your investment, you can reach out to support or our online chat box at any time. So again, would really like to thank everyone for attending today. So thanks so much and enjoy the rest of your day.